Paris is home to over 12 million people, making it Europe's only megacity. And when you lay it all out, it looks a little bit like spilled spaghetti on the floor. Having a great time in Paris requires understanding a little bit about the layout of the city, how to navigate it, and what the heck people mean when they tell you where to meet them later. I'm Jay Swanson, and I've lived in Paris long enough to become French. I know the city very well, and I'm here to share with you exactly everything you need to know to be well-oriented, to understand Paris, and have a great time. Let's get going.
Perhaps the defining feature of Paris is its river, the Seine, which flows from the east to west. The second most important water feature is Canal Saint-Martin, which runs to the north. And Paris itself is divided into 20 districts known as Arrondissements, numbered from 1 to 20, starting in the middle and spiraling out until butting up against the suburbs.
The word for suburb in French is banlieue, and to come from the banlieue is effectively to say that you live in Paris's shadow. Paris as a city is technically defined by this, the ring road that runs all the way around the city, known to Parisians as known in French as the périphérique, or to Parisians colloquially as le périph'. One of the things that's very confusing to the Anglophone mind is the idea of left bank and right bank, because in our brains we think in terms of north and south, but in France they don't do that. It's all determined based on the direction of flow of the river, so if you don't know which way the water's flowing, you're kind of screwed. Thankfully, I can help you with that. If it's heading towards the Eiffel Tower, from anywhere that you're actually going to be in Paris, that's it. Actually, the river's just flowing towards the Eiffel Tower pretty much. So that means that on this side is the left bank and this side is the right bank because I'm facing the direction of the flow. That would be north, this would be south. The left bank is where you'll find the old money, the Senate, the National Assembly, and Luxembourg Gardens. The right bank is where you would traditionally find the markets, the factories, and is the heart of working class Paris. And that brings us to east versus west. While the factories may have mostly closed at this point, you'll find in many European cities that there is a division between east and west, where the east is more workman friendly and the west is a little bit more upscale. This is often attributed to the fact that the wind, like the one I have blowing against me right now, tends to blow east in continental Europe, which drives factory smoke east and housing values down. And Paris, of course, is no exception, with the left bank and the west side of the city famous for its golden triangle and luxury apartments, and the east being a more densely populated working class section of the city. So when somebody asks you if you spend your time on the left bank or the right bank in West Paris or East Paris, they're going to draw a number of conclusions based on your answer, because Parisians are a judgy bunch. This gets even worse when you start talking about arrondissements. Each arrondissement has its own reputation, which gets even more granular when you start talking about neighborhoods or streets. We don't have enough time to dig into all of that, but I can give you an overview of all 20, starting with the first, the Louvre. That's basically all that they have room for in this arrondissement, especially in conjunction with the Tuileries, the gardens that are just on the other side. But of course, this is very well known for its luxury shopping at Place Vendôme, Palais Royal for some really great photos, and there are some great coffee spots here as well, including one of my favorites, but I would not stay here for the food. The hidden gem. The second is often overlooked because it doesn't have any parks or major monuments, but what it does have in spades is covered passageways like this. Little markets that are inside with lots of restaurants and really cute shops. It's also famous for Rue Montorgueil and BNF Richelieu, the big reading room library you have seen on Instagram. The Haute Marais. You've heard of it for Fashion Week pop-ups and delicious food, and you could drown in good coffee here. The Marais, traditionally home to the gay and Jewish communities here in Paris, it's also home to Notre Dame, and as you can see, gets absolutely swarmed during tourist season. But that's okay, we still love it for its charming walks through its narrow streets, the old world charm, medieval architecture. That is what you're here for as much as anything, and then we get out to eat. The student body. Between the Sorbonne and the bookstores, this is the most erudite area of the city, famous for the Pantheon and the Jardin des Plantes. Elitesville. Unlike in the US, elite status in Parisian society is given out more by prestige than by riches alone, which makes it as likely that you're going to run into a famous author as you will a senator in the 6th. Old money. The 7th is home to the Eiffel Tower and is way farther out than you might think. When I first got here, I thought the Eiffel Tower was at the center of town. It is not. And this is kind of the destination for a lot of Americans as their ideal getaway, but personally, not where I would stay. Empty. This is where the Champs-Élysées is and a whole bunch of upscale shopping, but also like big box retail you can find anywhere, nightclubs, and ultimately the playground of the ultra wealthy. This is a soulless arrondissement. Get out as quick as you can, before traffic starts. Everything in one. The 9th has the luxury shopping of Opera, the seedy nightlife of Pigalle, and the upscale residential charm of Rue des Martyrs. It's very diverse, actually, in everything that it offers. Homie hipsters, the 10th is where the canal comes above ground, and while it might not win in any given category, it has a high combined score and a central location that does make it the most charming. Food, 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 food. The 11th is the beating heart of Paris's culinary scene, and while it's best known for Bastille, you should probably head towards Saint-Ambroise, the church here. This is on the tail end of what I like to refer to as the Golden Croissant of Paris, the 9th, 10th, and the 11th. And this is where we do the majority of our eating and boozing. And of course, if you want to know where all my favorite places to eat and drink in Paris are, then all you have to do is hit the QR code here on the screen or go to parismypocket.com, grab my guide. You have hundreds of recommendations of places that I have found over the last decade, places I love and know for all kinds of different reasons. Let's keep going. The Sleeper, both in that the 12th has its cozy village vibe and that it's way cooler than I originally thought when I first moved here. At least the parts that aren't completely covered by train tracks coming out of Gare de Lyon, which is a shocking amount of this neighborhood. It's famous for the Bois de Vincennes and the Coulées Vertes. Chinatown. There is no official Chinatown in Paris because the French government does not allow communities to brand themselves in that way. Totally different discussion. However, if you do like Asian food, you should get to the 13th. Are we still in Paris? The 14th has a quiet kind of charm, like a suburb within Paris. It's famous for the catacombs, the Petite Ceinture, and naps. Residentialsville. The 15th is far from the action, but if you're a young family looking for a place to land and you're on a budget, this is gonna probably be the best spot for you. New Money. The 16th is famous for its little old ladies and their even littler dogs, big gorgeous streets, lots of great museums, and a whole lot of people that really want you to know that they do have money. You know it for Trocadero. Residentialsville Plus. The 17th is a really modern take on a residential area with some delightful new high-rise apartments and some beautiful parks, including Martin Luther King Park that I'm in right now. Batignolles is the area everybody loves, and you'll know that they live there because much like Harvard graduates and vegans, they will tell you about it. The Hill. There's more than one hill in Paris, but of course if you're thinking of any hill, you're thinking of Montmartre, which is the defining feature of the 18th. Village vibes, friendly people, and charming to the core. Mixed reviews. The 19th has the rest of the above ground canal, my favorite park in the city, and some phenomenal restaurants. It also is covered in rail lines and has some of the most intense petty crime rates in the city. The up and coming. The 20th is most famous for Père Lachaise, but is also home to a rising element of standout chefs, is very diverse and well worth some exploration. Of course, if you're ever wondering which arrondissement you're in at any given time, there's a cheat. And that's looking at the street signs, because in the little Napoleon hat at the top, you'll see the number with the arrondissement ARR in there. The second E is like second. You get it, 2. Just the number 2, that's all that matters. That should give you a decent idea of what to expect from each arrondissement. And as soon as you get to the 9 that touch the périphérique, you get to the outer ones, you'll have a lot of Parisians telling you, oh, mais c'est trop loin. They think of them as being outside the city already, which should also give you a feeling for what it's like to be from the banlieue, to feel that much farther out from the city, which hopefully is something that's going to change as the Greater Paris Project and the new metro lines come online and everyone's able to access the city for one low price. So where should you stay? Today, I'll sum up the simplest advice for first-time visitors, but this can apply to pretty much everyone, which is if you find Notre Dame on the map and then draw a circle around it, about a 20-minute walk from Notre Dame, you're gonna have a phenomenal time. You're gonna be very central, near the river, in one of the best arrondissements to be exploring, very walkable, friendly people, great food, great places to go out, and easy public transportation to the rest of the city. So if you're not used to it yet, you can get oriented, understand it better, and then the next time you come to visit, you'll know maybe a different arrondissement that you might like even more. But I'm sure if you stay here first, you may never stay anywhere else. We love it down here. It is the very center of Paris. You won't go wrong.
But be careful when picking a central spot, as you might get tricked into thinking the first is as central as it gets. You're likely to fall into Les Halles. Originally the hub for food distribution in Paris, Les Halles also takes up a ton of space in the center of the city, and you are very likely to pass through it at least once. But that doesn't mean you want to stay here.
Parisians are awfully divided about Les Halles, but you'll notice that most of the people that I'm friends with and that we hang out with don't want to come here because it's a giant shopping mall and the busiest metro station in the city. Something like 800,000 people a day come through here between the metro and the RER, but that also explains the vibe because the RER goes all the way out into Greater Paris, Of course, the Greater Paris Project is going to bring more Parisians into the center, and this is where they start. So, Les Halles is what a lot of people that live in the banlieue think of as Paris. They can get a lot of shopping done here, there's a lot of restaurants, a lot going on. It always used to confuse me why there were so many Parisians here until I understood that, and it helps you to understand a little bit of the difference in vibes. When you've come to Paris a couple of times and had a chance to explore off the beaten path, you're gonna have a much better idea of the neighborhoods that fit your vibe. I have very clear opinions about what I love in Paris and where I would like to be that might not match up with yours. In fact, there are a lot of people that very much disagree with me. And you'll only really know that if you come, check it out, try it, and see what you like. But until then, I do think playing it safe by sticking central is a really good idea. And there is nothing more central than Notre Dame. So draw that circle right around it, start there. Maybe you'll end up staying there, but it's a really good place to get started. And now it's time for a little bit more advanced Parisian lingo. If you come to Paris and you meet some Parisians and they invite you to hang out later, you might hear a sentence like this: oh, we'll be out in Oberkampf later, or even worse, we'll be on the canal or on the river. What do those even mean? On the canal usually means in this area, although often it can mean a larger swath of the 10th. It can also mean this, and it never means this, although technically it could. How do you learn all this? You live here. But as you're learning these weird little nuances of Parisian life, don't be embarrassed to ask for the Parisian in question who's asking you to meet them somewhere to drop you a pin. Getting a very specific location is really, really useful, especially because naming conventions in this city aren't always the most creative, and sometimes there are multiple options under the same name when you search on Google Maps. So having the specific one in that specific place is gonna go a long ways. We made an entire video on how to use the metro, so if you want a deep dive, I would go watch that right now. But the quick and dirty version would be to grab your Navigo Easy. It's in the name. It's a blue card. You can buy it at any window in any metro station. And even in the making of this video, they've made 2 changes, which is what makes keeping on top of public transportation kind of a nightmare when it comes to videos. Number 1, the Navigo Easy is now purchasable from the ticket machines behind me. You don't have to go to a window. They're still very lovely though, so I would do that if you're feeling nervous. 2, it costs €2.50 per ticket, and there's no bulk discount. So when you buy these, you're paying €2.50, 25 for 10, 50 for 20. You're not gonna get a reduction. However, it does get you anywhere in the Greater Paris area on that one ticket, whether that's RER train or metro, which is phenomenal. So with your Navigo Easy now, you can just make it out to Versailles and back if you want to, but not to the airport. You still gotta pay an extra, I think €13 to get a ticket to the airport, but that's okay because now we have metro lines that make it to the airport. It's amazing, everything keeps getting better, if more expensive. Circling back to the Golden Croissant, we are in République, an open square divided between the 10th, 11th, and 3rd, here at the beating heart of what we love most about life in Paris. Whether you love good coffee, good food, wine, great beer, shopping, nightlife, just getting a nice little bit of a grungy but honest taste of life in Paris, it's gonna be here. République is often referred to in the same way that you might hear the Canal Oberkampf referred to. It all overlaps, but this is gonna be a central anchor to your experience in Paris if you love any of that good stuff, and a stone's throw away from so many things that I absolutely love in this city. And with this, consider yourself oriented to Paris. It is hectic and the people can be stressed, cranky, and a little aggressive. It smells like piss, and an embarrassing number of dog owners do not pick up after their dogs. Traffic is insane, especially as we squeeze cars out to make room for bikes, and the bike lanes are manic as Parisians try to pretend that they're Dutch. It's loud, it's overcrowded sometimes, and a little bit overpriced, and I love it. This is my favorite city on earth, and I hope that this video has helped you to understand how you can make it your own. And if you like this video, be sure to watch this one on how to spend your first 24 hours in Paris, or this one on how to use the metro like a master. Just remember that Navigo Easy has changed a little bit since we made that video. I'm Jay Swanson, and this has been Paris in My Pocket's guide to understanding Paris like a local. I hope you have the best time possible while you're here.